What's up, everybody? It's Tyler at Mom's Basement MMA, and I have my friend Hannah Guy with us today. Hannah, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing awesome. It feels great here. So just living the life.
Super excited to talk to you. I just found out not that long ago on social media, you made an announcement that you are taking a short notice, a bare knuckle fight against Taylor Starling. Wow, that surprised me initially. Before we talk about everything leading up to the bout, I want to talk about this bare knuckle bout, just peripherally, and then we'll kind of deep dive into it. But how the heck did
Mhm.
this happen? Was this something you were intending to do, or the stars align? How did this happen?
No, not at all. Which um I'm good friends with like Alan Belcher here in Biloxi. So yeah, he's good friends with you know, Dean Toole and all them. And so um they were just talking one day and they were talking maybe I'm not sure exactly how it got brought up, but I know Taylor had been looking for an opponent. They were having issues. Exactly how it got brought up, but Alan was like, "Well, maybe Hannah will fight her," and
So,
then looked at her film a little bit, and then called me and asked me if I would want to do it, and kind of described everything, and then I thought about it for a day, and then I was like, "Why not?"
so I
So.
have to ask about this fight in Tampa. I watched one of your podcasts. You were on James Lynch's podcast earlier this spring, prior to you
Mm-hmm.
fighting Valarie, and you were
Mm-hmm.
talking about your van or your RV. And I have to know. This is the most important question: is your RV okay?
So that one's not. It got totaled by insurance.
Oh,
So,
that's really sad. Do you have a
um,
new RV then?
I do. Yeah, it's an ambulance. It's a
Nice.
1991. So, well, I'm not gonna get down from here right now, but I'll show you. It's right over there if you can see.
Yep, I see the very. Yep, I see the front of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an ambulance. So, is the idea to drive your fight mobile to your fight in Tampa?
um, it really just depends. I don't know if they're paying for a flight or just paying me gas, but they haven't booked anything as far as I know. So maybe cheaper for them to just give me some gas money. But
How ominous is that? You're driving around the fight mobile as an ambulance. It's ominous, isn't it? You drive up with to one of those things. How intimidating would that be? You show up at a fight. Let's just pretend in an alternate universe I was supposed to fight you, and I'm waiting for you in the cage, and then you show up in an ambulance and come out. I would be terrified. That sounds like WWE type stuff, doesn't it?
yeah, kind of.
I'm just saying, there's a potential branding theme for you there. And I wanted to
Yeah.
tell you, did you know that there's another fighter that also lives? Well, he has an RV, but did you know that Jimmy Crute lives in an RV with his dog?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he
That's all.
does. And he is actually fighting, I think, this weekend. And then you fight next week, next Thursday.
So, who does he fight for?
He's UFC. He's
Okay.
205 pounds. So he's a big
Got
dude.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, and he fights Jamal Hill, so that should be an interesting fight. And he's got a cool mullet too. He should be on
Okay.
my show. So anyway, I wanted to ask you a little bit about Taylor specifically, and then I definitely I kind of want to go back and ask you about your MMA fights, Hannah. But as far as Taylor's concerned, here's just kind of my take on her. Um, if number one, if this were an MMA fight, you'd absolutely smoke her in the very first minute of the first round.
hmm
This fight would get to the ground and she would get annihilated. It wouldn't even be intriguing a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
you have amazing jujitsu, and I must confess I don't know a whole lot about your opponent. I don't know a whole lot about
Mhm.
Taylor, but from the
Yeah.
bits and pieces that I've been able to kind of put together, she comes across as being some sort of a striker kind of type. So the fact that she ended up where she is, that's not a huge surprise to me.
Yeah.
With your background, And being a predominantly a jiu-jitsu fighter, like, what is compelling you? What is making you explore this opportunity with bare knuckle and fighting somebody like Taylor?
I'm super good at like adapting where I need to, quickly if needed. I just work really well under pressure like that. Don't get me wrong, I still struggle like mentally just like anyone else would, but
Sure.
I think when I have situations where I have to adapt quickly, I feel like I'm pretty good at that. Um, and I've always wanted to take a short notice fight, and just like bare knuckle, I've never done either. So I just thought it'd be pretty cool. And I'm kind of like at this point in my life where I'm like, you know, am I going to look back and like regret not doing that or doing that, you know? And so
Absolutely. And bare knuckle, it's a prominent like promotion. A lot of like your fight will be streamed. Like, it's a big promotion. There are a lot of names on it, and I think that's good exposure for you. And I think that's probably the most important thing for you at this point in your career, is just getting your name out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you a little bit, like, as far as this being this in a weird way, it reminds me exactly of where you are at this spring. You were brought in to fight Valarie. You were a huge underdog, and you made me a lot of money, by the way. So thank you. I owe. I'm not going to tell you how much I won, but I will tell you this. I do owe you a steak dinner. I think that's fair. I think that's more than fair. You were a huge underdog in that fight. And I'm going to go ahead and suspect it's a similar situation here. You're a short notice replacement. By the way, the opponent that you're replacing, I'm not in the business of like, talking ill of people, but I didn't think the opponent that was initially supposed to fight her is all that great. And I would also go as far as to say, when you look at Taylor's career in bare knuckle, I actually wrote down, I added it up, and math is not my strong suit, but by my count, it's a 1-7 record, is like the collective record of her opponents, which tells me this. It tells me that they're not really putting the best competition in front of her. She's young. She's pretty. We've heard that before, right? She's 25, 26 years old. This tells me they're trying to build up around her. It's very similar to Valarie Loureda. And when you think about that, like, why is this such a bad move for her to fight you?
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like I'm way tougher than some of the people she's fought. And, our situation, like, she has more to lose than I do.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. So, I mean, even if I lose the fight, I'm going to make it a hell of a fight even if I lose. So I'm going to make her not look as good.
I'm surprised this fight's happening, quite honestly. You're a big jump in competition from the gal she was supposed to fight to you. I have to give Taylor props for taking the fight. I think there are a lot of people that would be in her position that probably wouldn't. Were you surprised that she agreed to fight you?
Oh, yeah. So used to being like underestimated and people not thinking very much of me, In my area, people wouldn't as much, but, it seems like everywhere else, which is fine. I mean, super no pressure on me. I have everything to gain, so I hope I continue being put in these situations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to ask you, Hannah, a little bit about your mixed martial arts fights earlier this year. Obviously, we all know what happened at Bellator 259. You fought Valarie Loureda, and people made a big deal out of it. I looked at that fight, and I wasn't surprised that you won. I will admit, I didn't know who you were before that fight, but I did research on you, and I looked at all the girls that you fought, all the fights that you've had, and I was thinking to myself, like, I don't think this fight is going to be as big of a blowout as what everyone thinks it's going to be. I was like, you know what? I think this Hannah Guy girl, I think she's going to win. And so I did. I put some money down on it. Thank you for that, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so were you kind of amused that everyone like flipped out to the extent that they did, that you won in the way that you did win?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying not to pay attention to like really anything on social media.
That's smart.
But yeah, but I mean, even with the positive feedback, because you don't want to depend on that either. So,
Right.
um, but yeah, I mean, I wasn't really surprised, honestly. I know how people are. If I had lost, I would have had just as many messages, but I hate messages. So, and it's not surprising to me that a lot of people still talk shit on their page. Like, it's just how people are.
I think what's interesting about her is I actually had on not that long ago the gal that fought her after you, Taylor Turner. I had her on the show, and
Mm-hmm.
that fight was close. They gave it to Valarie, but it was a split decision. It was a very, very close fight, and I don't know, just kind of how she was acting and stuff like that. It was just kind of, you would think like she just like knocked out Francis Ngannou or something like that. It was just kind of
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not. I don't want to talk crap about Valarie Loureda. That's not really what I'm about. But I will say this: I hope you get to fight her again. I think it'd be fantastic, and I think the fight would look different. Like, you're still going to win that fight, but I think you would dominate that fight the second go around. You fought her once before. You know exactly what she can and what she's good at, where she's not so good at. And
Mm-hmm.
I think her ground game's better than what people probably give it credit for, but it's nowhere near the amount of. It's nowhere near as close as like how proficient you are on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
I I was a little bit surprised after your fight against Valarie. I found out like you had posted something about fighting again, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And me being the noob I am, right? I
Mm-hmm.
I'm tuning into the next Bellator fight, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Hannah's gonna fight again, and you weren't there. And I was like, oh, okay, well, the fight must have gotten scrapped or something, and I didn't think anything of it. And then I think Ben said something, Ben Parrish said something, or he commented or liked something about you winning a fight, but it was in a different promotion. It was with Summit FC. I know that's
Yeah.
a promotion in the Southeast, and I was
Mm-hmm.
surprised. I was like, wait a minute, like, I thought she was supposed to fight, and then I was like, oh, wait, oh, okay, so Bellator didn't pick her up. It was a one-off, and they didn't pick her up. Were you kind of did you kind of think like something would be different and they would pick you up, especially after you ruined their plans with Loureda?
Would definitely offer me at least one more fight, possibly, but I was surprised. I really thought, especially like I was like kept saying over and over in interviews, like you guys have treated me really well, I've had an awesome
Right,
time. Them a lot of props, even though I knew they brought me in to lose.
right. Well, it was the same thing with Ben. It was the exact same thing with Ben, and I bring Ben up because you guys were initially supposed to fight on Bellator 259. Edwards pulls out. Ben fights a few weeks after you on a different card. He completely starches Christian Edwards, wins the
Mm-hmm.
fight, and the fight was over as soon as it started. Ben is ready to fight right now, like I know he is, and the phone is silent, and it's just disappointing. Like, I want you and Ben to both be in Bellator. I like Bellator a lot. Um, I think they're a really good promotion, and I like to see there being a different promotion other than just the UFC for people to go to.
Yeah.
So I want that to happen, and um, all these girls keep calling you out in Bellator that they want to fight you. So I'm hoping that something can change and that will they'll bring you back to fight one of those girls.
Yeah, I know. Being called out. So that's cool.
Is there one girl in Bellator, not talking about Valarie, but is there another girl in the 125 division that you'd really like to fight?
I don't know. Just whoever.
It's just kind of whoever. Give me a
Down for whatever.
contract, give me a body, and I'll do my thing.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna win this fight. Just being completely honest with you, I think this is a fight that it's going to go very similar to the Valarie fight. I think there are a lot of people that are just kind of writing you off as being a grappler. Like your grappling capabilities, your grappling skills are gonna like, oh well, she's just a grappler. She's not really a striker. But if you look at your other fights, I don't know. I think that's kind of misleading because it almost acts. They almost seem like you're like this Ben Askren or like this Damian Maya type that is only comfortable fighting on the ground, and that's not really true. Like you don't shoot for a takedown right away. You will stand in front of somebody and you will strike them, and you have the film to prove that. I mean, is it kind of like amusing to you when you hear people talk about those kind of things, especially leading up to this fight?
Yeah, it's just funny to me, like, but I feel like that's why I really like just boxing sometimes because
Mm-hmm.
it's helping me get a lot more comfortable.
And Hannah, before I let you go, I wanted to give you the opportunity, like if there are any sponsors that you have, or if there's anything that you're selling that you want your fans to know about, I'd love to give you the opportunity to talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. So, like, in all my social media profiles, I have a link to where people can buy merch from me. It takes you through Apex Untamed first, and then it takes you to, if you want merch, it takes me to that. So that's more my fighter profile on Apex. And then you can get a merchandise and buy like shirts, hats, hoodies, all kinds of stuff. And they're working on like a new design right now, but I have a couple already in there. And then one of my main sponsors for the Bare Knuckle fight next weekend is going to be hex.com, so hex.com. And they're a cryptocurrency. You can read all about them on that. But yeah, so they're my main sponsor. And then a couple of people that are on the fence, I don't want to say yet, but Financially Blessed, who's helped me, get my credit score up, kind of get rid of my debt. They've helped me with that. They're a financial life coach. Um, and State Line Maintenance in Columbus, Mississippi. They work on electrical and
Way cool.
HVAC, like that. So, and
What?
she helped me a lot with my van too, which is
Well,
awesome.
that is very awesome. And Hannah, I can't wait to talk to you again after you win this bare knuckle fight. And you tell Lady that I had a good time meeting her as well. Lady, make sure you take care of Hannah. You're a very pretty dog. I like her. She's pretty.
She's super chill right now too.
Very pretty dog. I like it's definitely, she's got to be like a Australian Shepherd mix. Has to be. Like the color definitely reminds me of that. She's very pretty. So, well, thank you so much for your time, Hannah. You were amazing, and I hope that we can do it again soon.